guys, welcome to our first episode of Fandom Family Chats. I'm here with Jeanette and Melanie and Amanda tonight. You guys can give a little wave. There you go. We are talking about Cruel Summer. We're going to go through the first 4 episodes because as of right now, this recording, we've only watched 4 and we are desperate to talk about this. And I think Jeanette may be the one who's watched them more than the rest of us.
About 5 times a piece.
I got once a
piece.
Lot.
I got notes. Yeah, everything.
so Jeanette is gonna lead us, and we'll
oh gosh,
we're just gonna have some
me on the spot right
some
there.
Theory slinging going on.
If you already know something to start with, somebody go ahead, and I'm gonna kind of browse here.
Well, let's start with the most obvious. Let's start with the dynamic of Jeanette and Kate. There's a lot on our group page. For those of you who don't know, we run a Facebook group called, well, they're all called. We run 11 groups that are fandom or family fan clubs, and we run a Cruel Summer Turner Family Fan Club group. And on that group, we have a lot of people who are either Team Jeanette or Team Kate, and they have different theories of why. So what are your thoughts on who is the worst of the two?
I mean, I'm neutral. I don't think that there's one that's worse than the other. I think, I'm at the stance where I believe both of them. I think Kate was held in captivity. She truly believes, well, I think maybe she did see Jeanette, obviously, because we know now that she's been breaking into the house over and over. I think she saw her. And I think whether Jeanette was just looking her direction or what she was doing, I think she thinks that Jeanette saw her as well. But I don't think she did. So, I'm neutral. I believe both of them. I think they both believe they're telling the truth.
You guys feel the same?
Yeah, I do too. I've kind of gone back and forth about, did Kate was kind of, if you saw her, she was kind of under that ground. There was like a very small window. And they showed that the last time, and it had like the wires and the bars across it. So, and she said we made eye contact. So was it? Exactly.
Depending on what time of day, was it dark? I mean, Jeanette could have, Kate, we know you look out the window, it's dark. You can see someone else maybe clearly.
Yeah.
But if there's no light in there, they can't necessarily see you. So, she may not have seen her.
I think Melanie and I might be actually more on the same page with this, going off of what you were saying in the chat. Melanie, do you think that Kate actually saw her or believes she saw her?
I think that she thinks she may have seen her. But I also don't trust Kate's memory at all.
Well, Kate made the point to say, like, I heard someone breaking in and then I saw him run away. Well, we know that Jeanette's been doing that. So that makes me believe that she truly did see her one of those nights that she broke in.
Right. I truly believe that Kate did see her. Now, the part where I'm questioning is when she said that she made eye contact with her, because when she said that, I'm like, did she actually, is that just in her head that she made eye contact with her? Like that's maybe a false memory that she implanted?
That's
or
possible.
Did like Jeanette look towards her and she thought she was making eye contact with her and she wasn't? You know how like you can look at someone and you're like really not looking at them, but they think you're looking at them. You know what I'm saying? So and that could happen in broad daylight.
My husband and I have that argument all the time.
Yeah. So it's like, that happens in broad daylight. Imagine in a little room, or in the dark or something. Or it could have been a situation. I'd hate to put it where maybe Jeanette did see something, but she didn't know what she saw. And she told herself that couldn't be what she saw.
Okay.
I could see that.
Maybe.
And
maybe doesn't want to.
Also, this is something interesting that, I just happened to ask my daughter's a couple years younger than these girls, but I asked her, it's like, so if you saw this, Lily, what would you do? And she actually had to think about it. And I was okay. Like there's that concept where they might not know exactly how to go about it,
Right.
Or understanding what it is when they first see it, or
that's possible.
And, so I was like, if this would ever happen, let's hope it doesn't. You either tell me and we'll call the police.
Yeah.
I think I'm the lone woman out here.
You don't think she saw her?
No. I think Kate saw Jeanette, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think she knows that Jeanette didn't see her. I think what I think is because Kate, when she was taken, she was this very nice, and I mean, she was nice to Jeanette. She was the one who made overtures to make sure Jeanette was included, even though she was a great hire. And she kind of stooped down to Jeanette's level to be kind and to be a sort of quasi friend to her. And she was like, it felt like she was like that with everybody. And even Mallory made some comment about how I've never heard anyone, or she said, no one's ever talked to me like this. And she said, I can see why. So even Mallory was turned by that. So she went in there that way, but I think the trauma of it changed who she was. I think the trauma made her come out a little harder and hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think that she saw, and I Melanie, was it you who said that, or was it on their Facebook page where they said that the principal, Martin, was grooming her and telling her, you know, Jeanette's taking over your life. Jeanette's, what is his name? What's the boyfriend's name? Jamie. I almost called him Jesse. That, you know, he's moved on. He's with Jeanette now. Jeanette is exactly who you were, that kind of thing. I think he was feeding that to her so that and I absolutely think she saw Jeanette, because the way she described the running out is exactly what Jeanette did in an earlier episode.
Totally what Jeanette would do. Yeah.
Right.
But Jeanette never stopped and looked back. I mean, if you're running out of a house, it's because you think you're about to be found.
Right.
So you're not going to stop and be like, let's check out this house and let's make eye contact with somebody. And I see someone. Let's hold that stare. No, you want to get the ass out of there, right? Yes. You want to get out. And so I don't think that Jeanette actually saw Kate, but I think when Kate came out and she saw all the things that Jeanette had, and the reason I think this is because when she ran into her on the street, she did not scream about how she saw her. She said, how many more of my sloppy seconds do you want? And then said, you're a miserable human being. You're whatever. It's called all these names. So I think she really wanted to hurt her. And also when
you're absolute trash. That's what she said, right?
That's what it was.
You're absolute trash.
When she saw Jamie and Jeanette kissing, that's when she decided to go to the police. And she said, and now I'm ready to make a statement.
Right.
In the office, she said she'll get hers.
And then the necklace. Now on the necklace, I think she stole that necklace from Jeanette. Yeah. Because which I tried to.
I think she went to Claire's and bought it. I truly do.
Well, but then what? I mean,
Mallory
here's what I think. Here's what I think. That's true. I'm trying to decide because it's real weird. I think it's in the second episode. No, maybe it's in the first. I can't remember. But it's when Jeanette comes back from her date with Jamie in '94. They pan in, it does that time jump. So we see we see the necklace definitely in her jewelry box in '93. And then it pans up in the mirror and it's 94, Jeanette. But I can't tell if that jewelry box, like we see it in the jewelry box, but I don't know if that means that it's still there in 94. I think it does.
It does, because the color altered a little bit.
Which means she did not throw it away. So my thinking is if she goes to the cops like a couple of days later and they say, hey, we've got your necklace. If it was still in her jewelry box, she would be like, no, I got it. So maybe it's not. Maybe she did throw it away. I don't know. I don't know that I believe that, though.
I know. I'm having a trouble with that. I'm like, was that some type of weird error? Because I was like, why would Jeanette not tell the truth on that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally in my jewelry box. Now I can't find it, but it was in my jewelry box as of 2 days ago.
And when I rewatched it today, before today, I was unsure, or I was positive that it was there in 94. When I rewatched it today, I'm not sure, depending on how the camera pans up, if it's actually there or not. I don't know.
It switched a year back.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
It did after, you're right on that, because I picked up on that today. I was like, maybe we're all wrong about that, because she puts it down in 94, but when she's walking back to the bed, it's 93. Right. So
I'm not sure.
Right. But why would they make it so complicated? Like that seems like that's fair.
I don't want you to guess.
I know, but
Amanda, did you have something to say about that? Amanda, did you have something to say about that?
Necklace is a big part of it.
Definitely.
It has to be important. They keep going back to the necklace. It has to be important. It can't just be black and white. It's going to be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, remind me, when they said there's been something, did Jeanette say right away, did they find something, or did she say, did they find the necklace? What did she say?
What was it?
I think it was in the first episode when she was talking to her lawyer, when she found out that they had found something.
Oh, well, that was in 95. And she said,
but that was when Jeanette first heard about it, wasn't it?
She heard about it in 94. So the lawyer, she does say to her, because the lawyer says, we'll pop in from time to time, when something comes up. And she does say, did something come up? But they don't answer it.
Well,
so I don't know.
Yeah, they did say something about, there was something about the necklace, but I think it was something, and Jeanette goes, is this about the stupid necklace? Because I already told you. She said.
Was that 94 or 95?
That was 95. And then the lawyer interrupted her and said, I'm not talking about the necklace, Jeanette. And then,
I think that's the situation that I'm thinking of.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I think that, because at first I didn't notice I don't know how I missed the jewelry box. That's the one episode that I had to rewatch again because Jeanette, you pointed out that there was a jewelry box. There was?
Well, I'll tell you why.
I think we all did.
It's because I noticed it because her signature looks so much like mine that it's scary. Like I got my mom to watch this show and she actually pointed that out. She's like, why does her signature look exactly like yours? And I was like, I know, it's really
because
weird.
I'm a serial killer.
It jumped out to me. I was like, well, that looks like I wrote that, so.
I keep forgetting that you guys have the same name. So I think when I went back and I rewatched it, I feel like I remember the light changing colors because I was really trying to focus on whether or not that was there. And it's hard to tell because her light in her room was always dark, but the cinematography does alter every year. And so I think I remember it going from light in 93 when she put it in there to darker in 94 when it panned up.
Now I want to watch it again. I wonder if we could notice whether the key disappears because the key probably wouldn't still be in there. I would assume.
Well, but I don't know. Because I think she still might have gotten the rush unless her rush moved on to becoming popular.
Yeah. Well, what about I was going to touch on the whole gunshot, which I think we talked about earlier in the chats. Because the gunshot is really standing out to me that it's something so important and so strange. I mean, for one, Jamie is super weird about it. You know, when at first he's like, oh, it was a car backfiring. Well, it clearly wasn't. And I think everybody can tell that. Then he says, welcome to Texas. Well, I mean, Jeanette and Vince have grown up in Texas. So it's not like they're new to Texas. And, I'm not, that was a weird way of him just blowing that off.
That statement I couldn't figure out. I couldn't figure out if it was him insulting him yeah, you idiot, you're in Texas. Of course it's going to happen. Or if Jamie was so elitist and so above everyone else that he genuinely never saw Vince before. Because he didn't even notice Jeanette because Jeanette and him went to the same school. He saw Jeanette when they were in the mall and he was kissing Kate. He saw Jeanette then. But when he's asked, he didn't meet Jeanette until they were handing out flyers. I know that's not, there's some discrepancy there because he's telling a lie to Kate. But when he's talking to Jeanette, he alludes to the fact that he had never known her before. So it's very possible that he maybe didn't ever notice him there. And he's genuinely saying, yeah, hey, buddy, sorry, this is what Texas is like. Welcome to Texas.
Yeah. I mean, that's possible.
I can't figure that out.
There's something.
I think it's one of those.
Well, I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, that's got to be, Martin getting shot. But then I was like, well, that's not.
Multiple gunshots.
Right. They call it a shootout, which I want to talk more about that, which we can wait until we get there. But that just seems weird. But if you watch the footage when she's watching, or when I guess maybe it's with her parents, so they're watching her getting rescued. They show that it's daytime, her bringing her out of the house. So I can't imagine that they would have shot him at night and then not rescued her till the next. That doesn't work out for me. So I think it was something else.
It was way late before the news broke.
Right.
The next day. I mean, they had already all gone to the mall. They had already all hanging out at the house.
Yeah.
We're talking mid-afternoon at the very earliest.
Yeah, definitely. So that doesn't. So I just wonder what.
The only thing I could think of. I mean, I was always thinking that maybe they went for some other reason, like it was a shootout about kiddie porn or something like that.
Yeah.
And they did not even know Jeanette was there. Then they didn't, for whatever reason, all the chaos or whatever, they didn't hear her. And then
maybe.
Or she didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't know how to respond. And then the next day, it looked like it was daylight when she was, clawing at that door. They may have come back to case out the crime scene some more.
And the other aspect, too, is that when Jamie was bringing Jeanette home, it could have been like 3 a.m. And the news wouldn't break until hours and hours later. And it could have, I don't buy that theory as much, though. because
I think it was earlier,
a single gunshot.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't make any sense.
Even if there's a SWAT team in there being careful, there's at least like 5 gunshots.
Oh, well,
and you're shooting to kill, you're shooting to kill.
And wouldn't someone have said something? I mean, I know the news didn't break till the next day, but like, I mean, I've been in a situation where there was like a standoff, like in a neighborhood, in my in-laws neighborhood, and there were like police cars everywhere, and like they're making people stay in their house. So I'm like, it's not like he lives in a neighborhood. So
and it's supposed to be small.
If that happened the night before, I mean, wouldn't someone be gossip? I mean, wouldn't someone say something about something happening? It just, I don't know. It just all sits wrong with me.
I think I figured out the gunshot though.
What do you think it is?
I think that because we were talking about Annabelle, right? And who that might be. And we all kind of think that Kate's mom, Joy, has something to do with that. Clearly Kate's mom is having an affair with the Scott guy. Is that his first name or his last name? Scott. Mr. Scott.
It's Mr. Scott Jones. Yeah, so it's his first name.
So clearly she's having an affair with this guy. Clearly, if her husband finds out she's having an affair, they're done. And Joy is clearly a gold digger. She's not incapable of having children, but she and Rod never have kids. So I think that's one aspect. But also I think that at some point, I think the conversation with Kate and Ashley is going to lead up to Kate confronting her mom. Because she wanted to tell her mom when her dad was having an affair.
Yeah.
I think eventually there's a confrontation where Kate confronts Joy and says, I know you're having an affair. Kate cannot have that, so she uses this family friend and threatens him and says something along the lines of, I brought you here, I can end you, or somehow threatens him because I think Martin's very afraid of Joy. I think especially watching her shoot and his fear of guns.
I have some thoughts about that whole relationship that just popped in my head today, but you can finish yours. I just want to
So I think that Scott and Joy might have worked together to get Martin to kidnap her, but I don't think they meant it to be as long. But I think that Martin started to get really panicky, really scared, because if someone had brought up that it's against his will, they think that he's doing it. And you can kind of see that he doesn't really want to be kidnapping her when you see that scene in episode 4. So I think that Scott starts to say, this has gone on long enough. We have to do something. We have to get this fixed. And I think Joy hasn't found a solution yet. So I think her and Scott fight, and I think the shot fired is her killing Scott, because we don't ever see Scott again.
Excuse me. That's true. And I don't know, because today I was watching, and the dynamic of Joy and Scott just really doesn't match up for me.
No, weird.
I mean, he's
like
a laborer.
servant master.
Exactly. And he honestly seems like a good guy. I mean, there seems like he's a nice guy. The way he took care of Kate was just, and I noticed when she was with him, and I don't know, little things stuck out at me today. And so when they're talking back at the house after he's brought Kate home, Joy, he calls her Joyce, and she makes the point that no one else is allowed to gets away with calling me this.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was like what she went by maybe in her previous, when she was poor and when she wasn't married to Rod. Yes. She's also drinking a beer, which is not that big of a deal, I guess. But at the same time, I didn't till today. But he hands her a beer, which I don't see her. I mean, I enjoy a good beer, but it seems a little bit beneath her class. She should have a glass of wine or something like that. And then there was something. I mean, and just the fact that his job. I mean, here she is, one of the wealthiest women in town, and I mean, he's her landscaper. I mean, it just all seems really, I don't know. It's just an odd dynamic of someone she would have an affair with, I think.
I think Joy doesn't have relationships with people. What, Amanda?
So maybe she was with him before.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Have a past.
I think maybe that she doesn't have relationships unless she can use that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I don't know what she's using him for at that point.
I don't know. I think there's that scene with Jeanette's mom. I have no clue what that woman's name is.
Cindy.
Where she said that Joy was just some, weird kid person that followed her around and kind of idolized her, which to me makes it sound like, possibly, she was poor. She was, what I'm saying? I'm totally getting.
Well, she definitely, I think, was, because she makes the comment to Kate that if Rod leaves them, they're going to have to go back to shopping at the thrift stores like they did before. So she definitely was poor before that.
they were totally like trailer park, you know, and somehow she moved up, you know. And I don't, and she is very interested in sustaining that, you know, that status.
Definitely.
And when her daughter starts questioning, you know, things that are going on and sees the affair and sees everything going on, you know, that brings more fuel to the fire of Joy being someone that was involved in this somehow. Whether it be money or manipulation or something that happened at his old school or something that went on. I mean, we don't actually know. I mean, it's weird, but we don't actually know that Martin's a pedophile. We don't know.
I don't think he is. I mean, I'm really like this last episode really.
Yeah, I thought it was fine for him too.
And even when I rewatched today, I rewatched with new eyes. I think he's just a nice kind of awkward guy.
Yeah.
I don't
easily cowed is how I viewed him.
I don't think he had a relationship. I don't think him and Kate. And I mean, I don't want to assume that she wasn't, you know, abused or anything like that, like sexually abused, but it doesn't appear that way.
Right.
And you know, my husband is so funny. I mean, he's watching and he's like, so why is he holding her? I mean, you know, why would some guy kidnap some young girl? He's not asking for ransom. He's not sexually abusing her. Why? And so, I mean, and it makes sense. Like, why would he, what's his reasoning behind this? So I think somebody's blackmailing him, making him do it.
I think so too.
Somebody's blackmailing him.
I want to know who's paying his paycheck.
Yeah.
Because have you seen this house?
My husband said the same thing. I mean, it's a nice house.
You know, I have a friend that is a vice principal at a school and they live there. So it's a very normal house. And so I'm just like, is there something else going on? Is he like a drug dealer? What's going on here?
Right. And I mean, because he's young too. I mean, he's probably he's probably at my age, I would guess. I mean, he's not like he's a young guy, you know. My house isn't that nice. I mean,
and like,
you know.
And you know, Michael was sitting there. My husband said that he could see a situation where Kate develops a crush on him. Absolutely, because I mean, he's young.
In '93, maybe, but I don't think. I don't think once she met Jamie, but in '93, yeah.
Yeah, no, '93. I'm talking '93. Jeanette.
Yeah, I can see that. I even think Kate.
Amanda, what were you going to say?
Or I'm sorry, Kate. Yeah.
Oh,
idea.
You were talking right before we talked about his house. You were trying to talk about something.
Oh, I said, or that's where Annabelle plays in.
How? What are you thinking there?
I think it's either his alternate personality or it's her alternate personality. I can't figure out which one it is yet.
Kate's or Martin's?
Yep.
I almost thought that what if, I mean, something that stands out to me is what the therapist said to her.
Yeah.
That your mind will create new facts in order to protect you. What if it's her mom? What if Annabelle is her mom? And she can't process that, because even when the therapist, she's like, I don't remember. So I don't know. And she told that story to everybody. I don't know.
But if you noticed around that campfire, when her mom got freaked out was not when she was talking about this young girl goes in the woods, young girl's on a hunting trip. When her mom started to panic is when she brought up the name Annabelle.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
So I think that her mom had a visceral reaction to that name. And I think her mom was aware that she had been drugged. I mean, if you look at her because I think her mom was supplying drugs for Martin to put in her food.
Yeah.
So when you look at how she's being carried out the day she's rescued, she looks depressed, but there's no fight. It's a very glazed over face. So what if her mom was saying, hi, I'm Annabelle. I'm here to check on you. I'm here to make sure he's not hurting you, whatever. So she felt more safe around that. But her mom did say that was the day it all changed. That's the day I met Annabelle. So what if her mom came in there to make sure that she was as messed up as she was before she was pulled out?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think her mom has got something to do with this.
Her mom's not innocent. There's something.
I definitely think her mom has something to do with it.
Especially since Melanie had brought up the thing about redecorating. Like that's a weird thing to
That
do
is
when
so
your daughter's
very weird.
in captivity.
What's weird too, that
every
they
waking moment looking for my kid.
right.
Right.
It's weird
You
too,
don't
just
do that.
her whole interaction after Kate comes back. I mean,
Mhm.
like, like the earring where she's like,
I was just
making
about
her
to say-
re-pierce her earring. And then again, like when they go to the party, like, and I mean, Greg Turner makes a comment about that. Like, what are they doing at this garden
So
party?
does she.
Like, would she just
Yeah,
get
why
home?
would you go? Like, I don't understand.
It's just so strange.
Mhm.
And I
And
wonder why Rod goes along with it, because he seems like a good guy. But
I think
don't know.
Rod is easily, I think he's so in love with Joy that I think Joy
Mhm.
could have passed it off as, this is how I'm grieving. I need to do this
Maybe.
because I'm sad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And he would
Yeah.
give her anything because it's really her daughter more than it is his.
Right.
His mind. He's selfless and he's a little more humble and he's
Right.
devoted to Joy and Kate. So I think that Kate or Joy could convince him that
Right.
I'm grieving, so I need to go do this. And he would say, whatever you need to do to get it to grief, whatever you have to do, let's do it. But I think that when she is doing the party and she goes there, you also have to remember that she is immediately against Jeanette, like immediately. So
Mhm.
I think she's aware that Martin, I believe someone on our page had said it, that Martin was giving Kate information. I believe he was doing that. And I believe
That's possible. Yeah.
that Joy was fully aware, because I think that Martin is the type of person who would have to give a detailed report of, okay, this is what I said, this is what she's doing, this is what I did,
Right.
especially because it seems like he's doing it against his will.
Right.
So I think she was aware of that, and I think she saw an opportunity. And I think
Mhm.
that Joy is also a little pissed off that Jeanette has been living the life that her Kate should have had, this life of
Mhm.
privilege and popularity, and with the pretty boy that should have been her daughter. So even though I think she's responsible
Yeah.
for kidnapping, I think that she would still hold a grudge against Jeanette for doing that, and I think that she would have encouraged that.
Yeah.
Because
I would
even
agree
when
with
it was
that.
came out about the lawsuit, and she was saying, Rod had said everything's going to be okay, and she said, I know it is, and he said, I was talking to Kate
Right.
about the situation. So
Yeah, like it's not about you.
everything is about her punishing Jeanette. Everything.
Mhm.
None of it was about my baby safe. It was all about punishing Jeanette.
And I wonder what that is. It's got to go back to her relationship with Cindy, I think.
And I think that
There's
was the
gotta be-
reason she punished Jeanette.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I think that Cindy was with her first husband, not with Rod, because that's what I thought at first. But she
Yeah.
calls Rod your stepdaddy.
Right.
And then I haven't heard her call Rod your dad or daddy. But she
Yeah.
said,
No,
Cindy
but-
used to love your daddy.
Mhm.
So weird. The whole thing with her even taking Rod down a peg and calling him stepdaddy to her just seems like a slap in the face to Kate. And that's
Especially
just really
since
pissed me off. He doesn't refer to her that way.
Yeah.
right.
He
And he's
always
also
refers to her.
didn't they say somewhere how long has it been? Didn't they say like a decade or something?
Oh my
which
gosh,
means
he
that
was like 6 years
she was
old.
little. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
She's
That's
the only
weird too.
father he's ever known, you
Mhm.
know?
Right.
And he's
Right.
been with her and I have to be honest, this is an incredibly personal thing because that's what my relationship what my
Mhm.
situation is. My daughter was adopted by my husband when she was 5 years old. She doesn't know her bio dad. He's the only father. So if I would sit around and call him her step, how demeaning would that be?
Yeah.
You know? And then he obviously, and that's what I said, he obviously adopted her. They have the same last name,
Right.
which is
Right.
his last name. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. It's
Definitely
just really,
weird.
that's what it really like. Any thought I had or any feeling sorry for Joy like went out the window when she started calling him stepdad.
Like, I mean, 5 minutes into the first episode, I didn't feel
We're
sorry
done.
for her anymore.
I have two theories about Joy on that. And I think one is that, because in the first episode, when she was, or no, the second episode with the garden party, this is a weird thing to say about your own husband in front of a group of people. But she said, I don't remember how she started the conversation, but she said, and our arms were open to him. Mine more than most. Like,
yeah. It
that's
was
a
very
weird
awkward.
thing to say about your husband for over a decade. Like,
Right.
you
Like,
basically just
ew.
admitted that I gave him whatever he wanted because he had the money. So I
Yeah.
think she calls him stepdaddy because she's separating that. Nope, I don't care for this guy, and he's just basically my sugar daddy. But
Yeah.
I think that's why she demeans him in that way. But I also wonder if she killed her first husband. Because
Well, they said he died
Cindy.
of cancer, but I don't know. I mean, it's
I feel like there's a lot of lying in this show.
I want to talk about more about the gunshot and we're
Okay.
talking about the shootout
Yeah.
in general. Because like, since we're kind of all over the place, we might as well just talk about it. Okay, I have an issue with the idea that there was a police shootout. Mm-hmm. We see that Martin admits that his father committed suicide. Yep. And we can see that he's not lying about this. He's generally upset by the sounds of gunshots. So my guess is the man does not own a gun. He does not own weapons. So if the police were to come into his home and he's not armed, why did they shoot him?
Yeah.
Why would you kill him? I don't know. I mean, wouldn't you try to bring him into custody? It just doesn't seem right to me, which makes me think, I mean, we know that the Wallaces have friends in high places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joy specifically has threatened that several times.
So maybe he was killed, and we the guy in the white hat, I know we've talked about it. What's his job? Could he be involved with the police force?
He is sketchy.
We don't know. I mean, there's something definitely up with him, and she's obviously got something on them, because I mean, she almost like threatened them at the like hunting lodge that they needed to be. I mean, they needed to, you know, say what she was telling them to say. So there's definitely secrets there. Yeah.
She was like sitting there threatening her friends. I'm like,
right,
lady, you don't have any friends. Like at this point, it's all like about her reputation and about keeping everything and keeping. It just drives me crazy. I don't know.
Yeah. The other aspect about that shootout too, as we talked before, they're in a small community, and when they announced they found Jeanette, she's alive, Martin died. Why didn't any of them hear the shootout? Why didn't any of them? They were all, I mean, they all kind of live around the same area. So you would think that they would have heard a huge
So maybe
shootout.
That gunshot was him being killed, but it wasn't like, and then they just covered it up saying there was a police shootout.
Could be that. But I think that they would have to have more evidence of that in broad daylight.
They say it. Yeah, they say it.
In what, episode 1?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. 1 or 2.
It was the news reporter who said he was killed in a shootout.
Yeah, right.
Right? It was the news reporter who said it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so I want to go into the Melanie had written this down so she didn't forget. I just want to hit on it really quick. You wrote down that Jamie said Jeanette knew before anyone else that Kate was missing. You wanted to say something about that?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that but I do think if there was something along the lines of her being around there or something, if and she's not saying because Jeanette doesn't want to go there or she's saving it for trial, but if Joy did say something to Jeanette, she would know before everyone else. And then how soon did Jamie move on?
Well, here's the thing with Jamie. He tells Kate that they met hanging up missing person flyers. But then he says to Jeanette that you knew she was missing before anybody else. So which is it? I mean, did she tell you this? I mean, why would she tell you she's missing after you've hung up missing person flyers? None of that makes sense.
Well, I mean, she could have. I'm going to give both of them the benefit of the doubt here. I'm going to try to come up with a scenario where that might make sense. It's not exactly honest on Jamie's part, but if she found out that Jeanette was missing, okay, and she went to tell Jamie that, and then he's like, you're crazy, and then they didn't start really talking or getting to know each other.
Okay. Yeah.
Until, so yeah. I mean, I guess that is possible. I mean, it is possible. He didn't really know her very well, at least, because they're a year younger,
right.
So,
and he's obviously popular and she wasn't. So I mean, I definitely understand why he didn't know who she was, but but they definitely did move on fast. I mean, because they're already, having sex and saying I love you.
Right.
When she's been gone less than a year. So I mean that's definitely moving on pretty fast. I mean,
I know. And
I guess I don't know.
That makes
I know they're 15, 16 and you say I love you after 2 months. So maybe that's just how it is. But
well, I think Ben was also, at the roller rink when he said, I mean, don't you still think about Kate sometimes? Yeah. Like, aren't you a little worried about her? And Jamie's like, well, I just assumed she ran away.
Yeah.
Which I understand that scenario too,
But I think he cared about Kate, but I think he's in love with Jeanette. I don't I don't think it's the same as the relationship he had with Kate.
Love or obsessed. I'm not really sure.
I think he loves her, and maybe it's turned into an obsession now that he can't be with her. But I think he truly, I really feel like he truly loved her, like different than he loved Kate. I feel like it's more of an obligation because they're both the popular kids. Maybe they're supposed to be together, but I don't know. I don't get the same vibe between the two of them.
I think I'm like one of the only people that's kind of down on Jeanette, and I don't know why. And it's not even, I'm not even down. I'm a little harsh on her. Only because, and I get 16, whatever, 15, 16, I get it. But she did take an opportunity to jump in on everyone.
She did.
She was horribly sad and depressed, but when she was not.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember what it was like in the 90s, is I was always kind of the fringe person. I was never really popular, but I was not unpopular. But
I was a little bit like Jeanette Turner.
I had friends in both camps, right? And so I never really truly fit in with the popular kids, but I didn't really truly fit in with the unpopular kids. But I know that in that time period, popularity was extremely, extremely important. And
absolutely.
It probably is now still.
It probably always is. But
in the 90s, like it was do or die. Like you're popular or you're absolute garbage and worthless and crap. And she was not hanging out with the most popular kids. And I think that she had, I think also that her mom probably had a hand in making her popular.
Yeah.
Because look at how
she probably definitely pushed her. What do we think about Cindy? I mean,
hang on, before we leave that subject, I just want to say something about Kate and Jamie real quick. I think Jamie's lying to Kate 1000%, because I think he, in his head, well, if I don't tell the truth, then I'm protecting her, because he lies about where he was after the garden party when he was with Jeanette. He lied about even seeing her, let alone kissing her. I think that he says that he met her that way because it would have been easier. Like, I met her while we were both trying to find you, as opposed to I met her before I knew you were really missing, and I chose to jump right in and ignore that you were missing and jump in with somebody else in bed right away. Well, I think he was protecting himself, but I think he was also protecting Kate, or thought he was protecting Kate. I don't think he was, but I think he convinced himself, it's okay if I lie about this because I'm protecting Kate. But what he was really doing was protecting himself. I think that you're right, Jeanette. I think that he does love Jeanette more than Kate, because I think it was born out of sadness. I think he was sad that Kate went missing. I think
I think he definitely cared about
Kate. So I think their relationship was born from that, and a relationship born out of trauma is going to have a slightly bigger connection than a relationship without that. And I think that when Kate comes back, the only reason he goes to her over Jeanette is because it's rumored that Jeanette knew she was missing and didn't say anything. Right. And if he were to stay with Jeanette, then that would be the end of his social life.
Right. I agree.
I agree.
I just want to point out that
popularity.
What, Amanda?
Sorry.
I could see her just jumping into that popularity. Like, she saw a foot in. She just went for it. She never got to be popular before. She never got to be before. She was growing into her looks. I don't think she purposefully did it.
I don't think she did either. I think we could see that she wanted to be a part of that crowd, like from the beginning. I mean, and it probably stems from, hearing that her mom was cheerleading captain, homecoming queen. She just wonders why she, so, and I don't know, Cindy Turner. I don't dislike her. I know a lot of people do. I don't think she's.
I think she's vapid, but I don't think she's bad.
No, because when I was rewatching today, I mean, when she's talking to Jeanette about, her fight with Mallory, I mean, she gives solid advice. And I mean, yes, she's very focused on the looks too, talking about her wanting to try contacts and all of that. And, I hate that. But I don't think it's malicious. I think she truly loves her daughter. I mean, she tells her that, one day you're gonna get your braces off and, everyone's going to see this gorgeous smile. I mean, so I think she's not, but I think she just can't handle. Like, people not liking her.
Solid advice to stay away from Mallory, or maybe you're growing apart.
I mean, right? That wasn't bad advice, to be honest with you.
Mallory is something else. Like, looking into her, but
especially originally.
I just,
although I don't hate Mallory anymore. I kind of like her.
I don't know. I'm like
I don't know.
I go back and forth with her. I think
you like her because she said that to Joy.
Or
I think she's funny, to be honest.
Yeah.
So like I've always, I mean, even going back to the episode where she was talking about when she brought the weed and she's like, so there's a contest, you know, I think I win. I mean, I think she's funny. So I don't know. I like her. And I don't know. I think she's not so bad. I think she's got a lot of trauma of her own that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
I did just want to say, I mean, we can't be looking at too many days beyond the time where Kate goes missing, Jamie in the flyers, and them realizing that she's missing. Mm-hmm. There can't be too much time in between. No. So it's like for them to have already started hanging out and dating seems a bit odd to me. Mm-hmm. Whether they were talking before that, I don't know. I'm not defending Jamie. I have serious issues with him. I'm just saying on that part, I can kind of see it where in a kid mind, you know.
Yeah. I think too that with Cindy, I think that she was raised on, as she said, the popular one. That's what she knows of high school, and she really enjoyed her high school experience. So I think her advice to Jeanette is really that she thinks that's the best way to have a good high school experience. So I think she's coaching her in that way. Yeah. And I think that I think there's every likelihood that she somehow found out by talking with the cops, by Joy saying something. I mean, Cindy rubs Joy the wrong way, and Cindy can get a rise out of Joy. So maybe she's talking to Joy about, hey, I bet your daughter ran away. Hey, it looks like she can't stand to be around you, that sort of thing. And Joy can come back with, my daughter is missing. She's not, she didn't run away. She left. And then Cindy could have very well gone back to Jeanette and said, did you know?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Kate's missing. Hey, there's an opening. Let's push you into that opening. And then from there, that's how she got there. That's how she knew Kate was missing first. That's how she got pushed in there. But maybe Kate doesn't want to say to Jamie in that moment that, well, my mom pushed me into this. My mom is the one who helped me get popular, that sort of thing.
Right.
Before we go any further, Amanda is gonna let us know some questions from some of the group.
Our comments.
From their Facebook group. So Justice today said, I think Mallory is the evil mastermind of all this. The way that she switched friends so easily and her anger towards Jeanette just seemed excessive, like she knows something we don't know. She just keeps giving me weird vibes. I'm dying to know exactly how she's involved. The fact that the fingerprints on the necklace were inconclusive makes me believe it was in Mallory's possession. And she gives off a vibe of her needing people to need her. And I think maybe giving everyone false info, making everyone believe her telling the truth.
I can see that. I don't know that I would call her the evil mastermind, but I agree with the rest of that.
Yeah. I don't see evil mastermind, but I think she knows something we don't know.
Mm-hmm. And I think too that the anger that she has at Jeanette is fierce and weird.
It's interesting, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
I get she became popular. I get that she kind of turned you off. But I mean, if you look at the difference in Vince's reaction to her and Mallory's reaction to her, they're vast. And even Vince says at one point, you know, she didn't just leave us. He says that to her. So there had to be some situation that happened in the time where she was transitioning out. And maybe it was that Mallory said, you're going that way. I'm not following you. You go there, you lose me. Yeah. And Jeanette continued.
But could she also have some sort of weird abandonment issues? I mean, we know that her father left her, and obviously she's got some sort of trauma that she's seeing a therapist for.
That was a funny scene.
So, I mean, right?
In the realtor's office.
Yeah. Especially, that was definitely funny. But I mean, maybe she's got some sort of abandonment issues that she's taking Jeanette moving on to a new crowd a lot harder than Vince is.
But I almost think it's of her own doing.
Oh, I
really
think so too.
Mallory would have said, you get me or you get that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But I mean, I wonder if it's not, I don't know.
That Jeanette didn't choose to stay with her?
Yeah.
Now, when she ran into her in the mall and she said, you sound just like her, who do you think she was talking about? Because at first I was like, oh, was she friends with Kate before? But she wasn't. Because her and Kate didn't know anything about each other until after they bonded over their mutual hate for Jeanette.
I mean, Kate didn't know anything about her. But I feel like, Mallory probably would. And I feel like that's typical of like a popular kid versus a non-popular kid. Like you're going to know a lot about them, but they don't even know you exist.
Yeah. But what she said to her was, if you want to talk to me, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm trying. And that's when she said, you sound just like her. Why would Kate have said that to Mallory when they
But was Mallory reading into, because now we know that Jeanette's sort of a compulsive liar. In that, where she's done all these things, breaking into the house, the weed. I mean, she's obviously getting a thrill out of
liar, though?
I don't know. I think she's told a whole lot of lies, and I think she's
lied
about
the things that could get her in jail.
I think she's a teenager.
Well, I agree, but I wonder if Mallory and her have been friends forever, is she able to read through that BS?
No.
And that's why she's like, you sound just like her.
I think she's talking about her mom.
You think so? See, I just assumed she was talking about Kate, but I don't know. I mean,
I think they want you to think that.
Maybe.
Because if you look at how she and her mom talk, and her mom would say, her mom was stoned half the time when she came home. She has these abandonment issues. And I think in that moment, because at first it kind of seems like, oh, Jeanette's trying to be friendly and nice, but I think Jeanette was trying to get her to go away.
I think so too.
I think that Jeanette knows her well enough to know what's going to make her run.
Right. Like, I don't like popular Jeanette. I think she's kind of shady. And, I like 1993 Jeanette. Yeah.
Well, she's got a whole lot of things that she has to pretend that never existed about her in order to stay popular. So I think that knowing Mallory as well as she does, I think she said what Mallory's mom would have said to her.
Maybe.
Run.
I want to know more about Mallory's mom, because we keep talking a lot about Janice, but we don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
Janice, that's her name. How do you remember all these names?
Well, because I've watched each episode 5 times. So I know them.
Melanie and Amanda, what do you guys think about Mallory?
I don't trust her.
Me either.
I don't. I don't think she's malicious. I don't think she's evil. But I feel like she's hiding something, and until I know what that is, I'm not gonna trust her.
I mean, she is. The one thing that Joy had right probably in this whole episode was when she called Mallory on the fact that Mallory tries to mold people into little her.
Yeah.
And that is something that has rubbed me the wrong way. And the fact that Jeanette, from the beginning, even though she was kind of going down that path, Jeanette didn't want Mallory to know that. She didn't want to give her that satisfaction. And I think that really kind of pissed Mallory off, and it's really interesting. I guess maybe because he's a guy and it's a different dynamic, but it's really interesting to me that she doesn't hold that grudge against Vince.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, because Vince isn't her mom. Vince isn't a female like her mom.
Right.
I think all of her trauma and all of her issues come from,
that's
her dad
possible,
left, but her mom is the one who stayed. Her mom is probably completely checked out and, I would guess, emotionally manipulative. And so I think she's got more of an aversion to females than she does to males. I think, typical.
That's possible, yeah.
I'm gonna get
that's probably where the verbal abuse is coming from that she talked about.
Yeah. But I'm going to get a little deep for a minute here. And when people lose their dads, this is just from my experience as a youth pastor, but when people lose their dads, it's an interesting dynamic because they don't run from men. They try to gravitate towards men to pull them in because they're missing that father component. They're desperate for other men's attention. But when they lose their moms or their moms are verbally abusive, they are more catty and more distrustful of women. So it's an interesting dynamic there. And I think that's what's happening here. I think that's why she's more fierce against, although her anger, the fierceness of her anger doesn't make sense to me. I think that's why she's mad at Jeanette and not mad at Vince. Because Vince is the only male in her life who's stuck by her and who's stuck around even though she's a complete wench. He's stuck by her. What I think is weird, in the same way that Jamie fell into Jeanette's arms so fast, how quickly Mallory turned into Kate's. Like, because in 94, we see them begin to be friends, and then by 95, they're hanging out in bathrooms together, and then she calls her my best friend, and that's a weird and really, really fast connection.
Well, she found a girl.
I guess neither one of them had any.
Her. She was more broken than her. Jeanette wasn't playing that game anymore. She couldn't manipulate her, but Kate at least will pretend she's being manipulated. We don't actually, you know what I'm saying?
I think Kate actually is.
Yeah. I think that she is. I think Kate, like I said, Kate is more broken than, she found somebody more broken than herself that she can manipulate and mold into what Yeah.
I think
Still
their
think it's
whole
weird how
bond
it goes there.
therapist.
Well, you see a little bit of the softer side of Mallory when she sees Kate in the video store, because I rewatched that today too.
Mhm.
And Vince
Yeah,
is all,
yeah.
really confused as to why she's buying these, movies that are talking about kidnapping and torture.
No,
But
that was
Mallory
before
makes
the
the
therapist's
point
office,
that,
right?
yes. And so she makes the comment. She's like, well, maybe it makes her feel safe. So and I didn't really pick up on any of that before, but after I had seen this week's episode, I went back and rewatched today. I mean, there was something really genuine in what Mallory was saying. I think she was genuinely feeling sorry for Kate and wanting to, I don't know, which I think there's some major trauma there with Mallory. I think, it's going to explain a lot when we find out more about what her home life is and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I think it was actually a fan suggestion on our page, but I wonder if Mallory has a lot of guilt from actually being the one at the house and seeing Kate.
Maybe. I've thought about that too.
Because maybe she went there, maybe after Jeanette was the popular one and left Mallory in the dust. Maybe she didn't want any reminder of her anymore and went to bring that yearbook back. So broke in and brought the yearbook back. And then Martin appears and she goes running and she sees her, but I think maybe she was trying to get her in trouble by saying, Jeanette's the one who stole your necklace. So I'm going to put her necklace in with this yearbook and I'm going to leave it here. But she didn't get to put the necklace down. So she got it and then dropped it. And that's how Kate found it. But I think that there's a very real possibility that she could have convinced her it was Kate or Jeanette.
Maybe. And that just made me think of something. What if Jeanette's telling the truth and what if she didn't necessarily throw it away, but she gave the necklace back to Mallory? Mm-hmm. And maybe for some reason Mallory has that necklace, like we've said, and maybe that's what Kate saw that night. So maybe she didn't see Jeanette's face, but she saw that necklace and assumed that it was her, and it was really Mallory.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and well, here's the other thing. She may not have even known. She may have known it wasn't Jeanette, but let's say she didn't. We found out in this last episode she didn't even know Mallory's name. Didn't know who the heck she was. She knew Jeanette's name.
She did.
And had introduced her to herself in the mall, and she knew her mom and the family.
Right.
Joy talks bad about
this
them.
Girl comes. Who can I blame that has stolen everything from me? Is very annoying. You know what I'm saying? It would be an easy. Jeanette Turner is an easy target. And that is actually really, really wow. I'm gonna have to stew on that.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Do we want to talk about Ashley, because we haven't really brought her up at all?
And I think Ashley, and then I've got one more thing I'd like to talk about. So
Amita, did you find anything on the Facebook page about I know people have been talking about her.
Ashley was my next kind of topic because we have several people talking about Ashley.
I have thoughts about her.
Let's see. The one I'll read is Barbie, and she says the stepsister planted the liar note because she is the one chatting with Kate online. And in the previous episode, she typed that she wasn't telling the entire truth.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with that. Maybe either her or Derek. I feel like they're going to work together to figure this out.
Oh, yeah. I forgot she was friends with Derek.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to.
Sorry.
Someone else said they thought it was Vince that
I saw that
did the notes.
I don't know. I don't think Vince is brave enough to do something like that.
I like the Derek Ashley thing.
I think Derek and Ashley are going to be the ones to solve this whole mystery.
Do you?
Because Derek seems to be the one person that truly believes that Jeanette is completely innocent in all of this.
Right. I did want to say something about Ashley, because I think that there's something to the fact that Ashley, she has been there the whole time, right? She comes every other weekend to see her dad, and I think there's something where Ashley could be really suspicious of Joy, or even her dad.
Maybe.
The whole Bernice Four story and Cassio story kind of rings that, where Bernice ended up going and getting murdered by her father, for betraying them. And I think Yeah. And so I think there is something to her her picking that name knowingly, going into a chat room with her sister and trying to get the story, trying to find out what's happening, knowing that there's a possibility that it's going to incriminate her father and her stepmother.
Yeah.
I think there's something, I really like Ashley. I think
I like her too.
Yeah.
You too.
So I don't know that she put the liar poster. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure Kate didn't put it there herself. It is what it is.
I like the Derek Ashley theory.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I don't think I paid enough attention to what was being said in the chat because I didn't catch any of that about dad killing family.
No, that's the story. That's just the story of, and I didn't know. I saw somebody else on the page talking about that. But I guess that's the story behind this. I don't know how you say it. I mean,
yeah, Bernice was I believe.
Did she say Cleopatra's sister or something?
Oh, that's who okay, gotcha. So was she saying that in the chat?
Oh, Cassiopeia. Okay.
Or did she not say that in the chat? Did we not see it? It was just what she's telling Derek.
I know she tells Derek a little bit about this.
Yeah. So she was talking. So Cassiopeia, we first hear at the beginning of, obviously on the hunting trip, Martin and Kate talk about Cassiopeia.
That's the constellation he points out.
Right. And he makes the comment about how Cassiopeia was the beautiful prize of her family.
And she wasn't she like sacrificed by her like parents or something? I didn't hear that part.
I think that was
but I feel like someone on the page said something about
something
about a daughter being sacrificed, and so that made me think like, "Ooh, that's interesting that he would tell that story."
So Cassiopeia was the beautiful one. Cassiopeia was the prize. She was not sacrificed. Bernice was the clever, smart, cunning one.
Okay.
And was the one that ended up being killed by her father.
Okay.
So they were sisters, which I think, and so when they do the when they're on the swing set and Ashley is telling Derek about that, she's bringing up, and then of course then we pan to her obviously using that handle to talk to her sister on the webpage or the web chat room. Wow. I was like, what were those things called?
Chat rooms.
When that chat room pulled up, that brought back all my high school memories.
Especially with that like sound of trying to log into it. Yeah.
No, that was junior high.
What was it, like IRC or whatever, the one that everyone used?
I frequented the AOL chats a lot, so
I didn't have AOL.
My thing about Ashley is I like her. I think that her animosity towards Kate, because there was a lot of people talking about her animosity towards Kate, but I think that's because she had said something about how the perfect mother-daughter combo fighting. So I think at first she views Kate as a carbon copy of Joy.
I agree.
Because she kind of is, because Kate is desperate for her mom's approval. She's desperate for her mom's opinion before the kidnapping. She just wants her mom to love her, to praise her, to say all these good things about her. So she worked really hard to get that. So I think she was kind of a carbon copy. And I think that there was probably some sort of, was Rod divorced when he met Joy, or did Joy kind of pull him away?
I don't know.
I don't think they've said.
Yeah. I mean, they said he moved to this town by himself.
Okay.
So my guess is that.
So Joy kind of worked on him after that.
Right.
But I know, like, Ashley probably had this idea that she wanted her parents to be together on some level. But I think more than that, I think that Ashley truly sees Joy for exactly who Joy is. And it's not pretty. I think that she's a gold digger. I think she's a really terrible person. I think that she had something to do with this disappearance. And I think that Ashley is smart enough to see that there's something wrong with Joy. So she doesn't like Kate because she thinks she's a carbon copy of Joy. And then once Kate starts to say something about this, she begins to see that, okay, maybe you're not. And then she was kidnapped, and then she watched all the ways that Joy didn't care, basically. I mean, redecorating things, didn't care, because didn't Ashley say when she came back, I'm actually here for you? Did she say that at one point? So I think that was the moment she realized, wow, Joy is way worse than I thought. And so I like that she took Derek's advice, because that's what she was doing. It wasn't like she did this on her own. She took Derek's advice in an effort to not just connect, but I think she's also trying to make her less afraid. I think she knows that Kate won't trust her on her own. So I think the whole purpose behind Bernice is to make Kate feel less afraid of everything. Because that's what, that was a key point that Derek said, was to make her not afraid, I had to be a puppet and use this voice. So I think that's what she's trying to do, because I think she recognizes Kate's afraid of everything now. Everything's a threat.
I love Derek. I just have to say that.
He's my favorite character.
He's the best. He might be my favorite too. I really love him so much.
But I want to say, like, anyone that's hard on Ashley as far as being, mean to her sister or anything, it's bad enough when kids, you all have
hard, yeah,
children, and they get multiple kids and everything. But imagine your mom and dad get divorced. He leaves town, moves into this other town, and then quickly finds a little girl the same age, adopts her. You feel like you're being replaced.
Yeah. And my kids are biologically the same, and they're jealous of each other all the time. So, I definitely think there's that dynamic.
Yeah, and it's like, and not only, and there's the dynamic of race, that he not only, left his cute little black family for this gorgeous white pretty girl, from, maybe who knows, we don't know. I understand, like, I just think that people are reading way too much into it, because I can't imagine, like, how hard that would be from Ashley's perspective.
And I think Derek's a pretty good read of character. And if Derek likes Ashley, then I like Ashley.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Ashley.
I loved her line when she said to Derek, like, she goes, "I wish I had that relationship with my sister." Like, it was really sad, and kind of like, I wish I could. Like, she realizes that she ruined it. You know what I'm saying? That she may not get back.
What were you going to say, Amanda?
Pretty much the same thing. That I think that Ashley's just, I think she's trying to be nicer to Kate after the kidnapping, which to me would be normal. You would probably say, I've lost you. We have you back. Maybe I should be nicer. I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think she's a bad character. I think her doing the chat, I think that's her trying to be a friend to Kate without Kate knowing that she's being a friend.
Yeah.
I don't see her being malicious.
And I think that's very telling of her character too. What do we think about how do you think that Jeanette got into the popularity? That's one thing that's tripped me up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, aren't you desperate to find that inner story there that they keep skipping over?
Yeah, we're missing.
Like, did she just one day like get her braces out and start straightening her hair? And apparently, much to my chagrin, straight hair is much more attractive. Apparently,
I tried to make mine more curly tonight.
Yeah, and I also want to know more about what happened to her parents.
Kate?
Where did her mom go? Like,
yes,
around.
Yeah,
because they don't ever say it.
Well, she obviously moved out. Derek did say, and here's the thing, we're led to believe that maybe her mom doesn't believe her, maybe her mom left, but I don't think that it's that easy, and I don't think that that's true. And the reason why I say that is Derek goes, you need to answer mom's calls.
Yeah.
And I think she's, she doesn't want to talk to her mom for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Maybe her mom does ask her questions. Maybe her mom is a little hard on her.
Is her mom in jail?
Do we think she did? Well, did she leave, or did she have some sort of mental breakdown?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe rehab. Maybe
when
I take her calls, like those calls, like,
right.
It doesn't sound
take
like
her calls. Yeah. Like she could only do them. So yeah. When I
I
rewatched
don't know. I mean, it
today,
sounds like
I noticed that.
Wait, what, Melanie?
I mean, they're obviously separated or divorced or something, you know, because he has a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they've been together for months.
4 months. I actually wrote that down today. Yeah.
Okay. It was actually 4 months. I wasn't sure if it's FOR months or
No, 4.
Oh, well, maybe.
No, I think in the context of the conversation, I think it was the number 4.
Okay.
Because she
Yeah,
said
that's
we've
how
only
I
been
took
seeing
it.
each other for 4 months, is what
Yeah.
I think she says.
Yeah.
So I
that's
think
how
though
took it.
that's 4 months in July of 95. So that puts it back. I have to do math and
It would have
dates at the same
been over
time.
a year. Yeah.
July, June, May, April. Puts it in April of 95. They would have began seeing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so roughly from July to April, he's either dealing with the explosion of his marriage or he's been single. So I mean, I think that's a lot of time to be casually seeing someone, because he is just casually seeing her, and he makes it known that he's casually seeing her. But I wonder if maybe she had a mental breakdown and she turned to alcohol, was what I was thinking. And she had to be in a psych ward, because back then I don't know that they really had like high end, because they weren't wealthy people, so you couldn't like really afford a high end rehab clinic. I wonder if she was put into a psych ward of a hospital and she didn't want to leave because she knew what it was going to be like when she left. I mean, you can create ways to stay in a psych hospital. It's not that hard to create ways to stay in a psych hospital.
I mean, she could be in a halfway house for all we know. You know.
Yeah.
But a jail, I feel like Cindy doesn't have the, and not that it takes bravery to go to jail. That's not what I mean. But I don't think she is courageous enough to do something that would get her put in jail.
Yeah, and also, I was over here thinking about the jail thing again. I think if she was in jail, I think that would have been brought up more with lawyers.
Yeah. That's true.
About, so maybe a rehab of some kind or a psych hospital, something.
I definitely think she's somewhere inaccessible other than by her designated phone call times.
I don't think she would have just left her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think so either, because she seems really like, I don't know, she seems worried and concerned about her. So
she also seems mentally fragile.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely was like at the fireworks when she saw people talking about her. I mean, you could see she was ready to have a breakdown.
Yeah.
And even when she was talking to Joy on the street, like she was almost manic, trying to get that double date going with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that that her fall from popularity and seeing Joy's rise to popularity, having a complete role reversal, I think was really, really difficult for her. Not just because it was Joy, but I think that she kind of felt destined to be in that life and she wasn't. And I think that added a certain amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Because the way she talks about her high school time, I mean, that's the roles that she had in high school, I would have to assume, because I wasn't captain and cheerleading squad, I was too drunk and stoned the whole time, so I don't really know what it was like. But I think that there had to be some level of pressure to maintain that level of popularity, that level of responsibility, that level of having those roles that she did.
Oh, definitely.
And then it makes you wonder what her upbringing was to create that kind of pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did her and Greg get together? Because he seems like the complete opposite of all of this. And it sounds like they've been together for a long time.
Yeah, it seems like they were together in high school.
Oh, they were?
Well, on her birthday, on the very first episode, they make a comment about, like, do you remember when we were 15? And that's when Derek's like, okay, y'all are grossing out the children. So it sounds like they've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
But Greg definitely doesn't seem like
she was the
maybe, because I mean, he definitely probably has the vibe of because even Derek's really popular. So I mean, maybe Greg was too.
I can see that. I could see him being a football, Texas football
definitely.
player.
So popular but not wealthy, because he has a skill.
Right.
Yeah. I can see it.
The only other subject I wanted to talk about was Ben, which is the guy that dated Vince.
Oh, Ben.
Because I've seen a theory, and somebody posted it. I don't know if it was on our page or a different Cruel Summer page, but just trying to figure out, because the lawyers ask him, do you blame Jeanette for what's happened to you, or for what happened, or I don't know if she says what happened to you or what happened, but
Because I took note of that. She says to you.
And someone, and like I said, I don't remember where I saw this, but I tried to watch today to see if I could get any clues. Someone asked, is he in a wheelchair?
Oh.
Now, we only see him sitting down. Mm-hmm. We hear that he was destined to be this great football player. So could something have happened where he's in a relationship with Vince and he's obviously on Jeanette's side, that he gets hurt in one of these football games or something? I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm channeling my Friday Night Lights like fandom here, but something just rung true to that. Once I didn't think anything about it when I first read it before we found out he was with Vince. But now thinking, I mean, we know in the 90s being gay wasn't exactly accepted like it is now. And so maybe being, that getting outed, or maybe just him taking up for Jeanette when the whole town is against her, causes some sort of accident to happen that ruins his whole career and what he's got planned. I don't know. It stood out to me.
We don't see Jamie and Ben talking in 95.
No, not in 95.
And one thing when you were talking about that, I mean, it was a few years after that, but we're not too far from like the Matt Shepard cases and stuff like that, right, where unfortunately
right. So it definitely wouldn't have been accepted. Yeah.
I mean, if Jeanette either purposely or accidentally outed him, I could see that in a situation where, the football players gang up and beat him, or something like that.
I think something must have happened to ruin what he would have been as far as his football career.
When he said defense, when I talk to you, all I can see is pain. All I can hear is pain. And whether that is something where Vince turned on him or something like that, or if it's just a memory, he's going to try to be straight now because it didn't work, out for him. Who knows?
Right.
And if you can see like the progression with Vince, it's like he's really cute. He's he's the guy that every mom wants their kid to be friends with, right? He's this cute little boy, and then you see like, and he's still cute. He's got his cornrows, but he's still adorable. And in 94 and in 95, not saying he's not adorable, but he definitely has,
well, he's taken a darker turn. I think a lot.
Everybody has.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad, like, and you don't really see. I mean, all he really does is, sit there and try to take care of Jeanette. And if it was something where Jamie did do something with Ben, that also did something to Ben, that would also imply, kind of give another angle as to why he's kind of obsessed with Jamie being parked out there, why it's really rubbing him the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because he does say, what if he comes in and hurts you?
He does.
Yeah, exactly. And
which almost implied, has he hurt her? I mean, we know he punched her, but has he tried to hurt her since then? I mean, why would he say
there's
that?
Probably a lot of death threats
hurt Ben,
Yeah, the bad thing is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
What was that?
I just think that Jamie might be a very violent person, and I think that we're going to find more about that.
Maybe. I like Jamie. I hope not.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, because I don't dislike him either. And so
I think we're gonna find when he's overcome. I think we're gonna find that when he's overcome with emotion, he doesn't know how to handle it well, and it comes out physically.
Maybe
because he never hit anybody before Jeanette. So
right, and he's obviously crazy. I mean, that goes back to me saying that I think he's like a whole lot more in love with her than he was Kate. I mean, he's got that picture of her that he's hanging on to in 95 when he's in the car outside her house. He's got their picture from their photo booth that he's still looking at, and then we see he's got a gun in his glove box too, which I don't know what that means, but
that could be two ways too. That could be that he's hanging on to a love for her, but it could also be that, look at how much she's lied to me, look at what she convinced me I felt, and so it's almost like a fuel for the fire. It could be.
Maybe.
I mean, it could be also that he's in love with her too, because I mean, that's the other thing I want to know about is why is he sitting outside that house day after day after day after day?
He's not sitting outside Kate's house. I mean, so
exactly.
I think he's still in love with her. And I wanted to bring up like the cop. I don't know, something the cop that brings him home, like, I wonder if there's going to be more to that. He seems really familiar, not just with Jamie's family. I mean, I know it's a small town or whatever, but when he goes to Jeanette's house, it's that same cop that he's like, they call him by his first name, and he's like, no, it's Officer so-and-so.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if we're going to see him more. I wonder if there's some sort of connection that we don't know.
Well, he's obviously friends with
Greg.
With
his name?
Jeanette's family.
Yeah,
I think the officer's obviously friends with Jeanette's family somehow. Like, especially when he said, no, you've got to take this seriously. She's like, comes out, she didn't even say officer. She said his first name, I thought.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, they're probably just, and when they're in, when he's in the police office, he when Kate was being interviewed, he's, the first thing
he says Cindy and Greg's little girl. He's just so,
like, and I'm like,
well,
wow.
He's real friendly with Jamie too. Like when he brings Jamie home, he says something like, Jamie's like, it's a public street, and he's like, find another one. It almost just feels like there's just a real close connection there. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And he called Jamie's mom by her first name.
Yeah. I even looked up their last name to see if they were related. They're not. I was like,
But I think judging by the way he is with Greg and Cindy, judging by the way he is with Jamie and his parents, and we know that Greg and Cindy were together since high school. We know that they've stayed in that town always. Right. You have to kind of imagine that they were all, they're all the same age. All the parents
probably.
So they probably grew up together. He probably stayed in that town, became a cop. He was probably on the football team with Greg, which explains that connection.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem that familiar with Kate, though. Like, he doesn't have that same, like...
No, because I don't think anybody liked Joy when they were growing up.
Well,
and Rod came to the town.
That's probably true, yeah.
Well, I mean, really, because she wasn't in their league. She was basically white trash when they were in high school, and Cindy and Greg were the popular footballers, and it's possible that Jamie's parents were, but it's specifically Jamie is a popular guy now. So I think the dad has at least some fealty towards his parent. I don't know if do we ever meet Jamie's dad yet?
We have not met his dad. Mm-mm.
Does he ever say anything about his parents?
No, we've only seen his mom. So we haven't.
He doesn't even talk about his parents.
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's the story I'm interested in hearing more about. Is Jamie's deal?
Me too. And I kind of wanted to know more about Ben's family too, because I feel like he makes a comment about his dad, but we haven't met his dad yet. So
and Ben is so nice. Like when they're filling up those water balloons,
nice.
And he stopped and he's like, "Just so you know, shaving cream works better." And at that moment, I was like, "I like you." And then when Jeanette came over, he tried to protect her before Jamie even came out of the house. Mm-hmm. And then when he saw Jamie coming, he just wasn't fast enough, but he tried to get Jamie away from her. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was so much about protecting Jamie from hitting a girl. I think it was, Jeanette, I care for you.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, I do too. I'd like to meet some more about Vince's family too.
Yeah, we haven't seen them either.
About Vince. So Jeanette, you did watch the episode 6. I wanted a clarification. Maybe you figured it out. Okay. So when he knows that Jeanette's lying, as far as that she's been back into the house, Vince has been back into the house because he found her, and she goes, I come in here all the time. Right. I've been in here all the time. And then he tells the cops that he doesn't know. Did you get any gauge as to what the time frame on that?
No.
Did he outright lie, or?
I was trying to figure that out, but they're sort of playing those scenes out simultaneously, so it's really hard to tell which happened first. I think he would lie for her. I think even if he knew, I think he would lie for her. And I think maybe he is, because Ben even asked him, would you ever lie for her? And he says no. Like, and that's, back in 94, but maybe that's like a clue for the fact that, here he just said like, no, I wouldn't, but then he does lie for her.
I think that's more about he believes she's innocent, and he knows that if he says, yes, she's been back, they're going to find her guilty. I think he won't lie to protect her in terms of, oh crap, she's guilty, I better lie so she doesn't get found out. I think it's she's innocent and I better lie to make sure that they don't find her guilty.
Yeah,
because I know for a fact she's innocent. So I think that's the only reason that he would have fudged those details, because I think that he and Derek truly believe and rightly know that Jeanette's innocent, because I think she's innocent of the crime she was convicted of, or at least accused of.
And I think it's kind of, and maybe Ben too, but I think it's kind of sad because Jeanette had all these people around her that she thought were her friends, and I think in actuality the only friend that she really ever had was maybe, was Vince, and then eventually Ben, and her brother, and it's kind of a sad thing, but I think I don't get any. I don't know. I just feel my heart goes out to Vince, because I don't know what's I feel bad for him with the whole Ben situation.
I know,
because he's really hurting by this.
Yeah. And
I think Ben maybe is too. So
there's not I'm sure, especially in Texas in the 90s, there's not a lot of, there's plenty of gay people, but there's not a lot of high schoolers that are willing to admit it.
No,
and there's not a whole lot of open even now, but you have to imagine.
I was gonna say, I think anywhere in the 90s, it definitely wouldn't have been,
but especially in the Bible Belt.
No.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So I think that with Ben, I think that there is more details to come, but I think that the only thing that he could, because the way they asked that question, that wasn't, do you think Jeanette did what she's accused of? Do you think Jeanette is a terrible person? Do you think, there weren't questions like that. It was, and I think they used the term responsible for, didn't they? I thought they said, do you feel like Jeanette is responsible for what happened to you?
I think they did. Yeah.
And so I think that the only thing that could have happened was Jeanette outed him. I think probably accidentally, just thinking, oh, I think it's okay, so I'm just going to talk about it. But it had to have happened after Jamie found out, because obviously he protects her from that punch.
Right. So
it came somewhere after there. And in 94, we see him. It is 94, right? When we see Vince get into his truck?
Yes.
Because those, I'm trying to remember based off the lighting, but it's really 94, 95.
It's in 94.
Close lighting. 94. So it happened roughly in 95-ish area that whatever happened.
Yeah.
So I think it's very likely that Jeanette, in her line of questioning, in her leaking information to the press, I think she would have said, Vince and his boyfriend or something along those lines that would have caused him, even if he's not in a wheelchair, he would have been ostracized. He would have no longer been, he would have lost everything.
It's obviously got to be something large enough that the lawyers would know about it.
Yeah.
So maybe he's lost a scholarship or something, based on, because they make a point to say that he's like this, the guy in the white hat. I wish I knew his name. I know that's just what we keep calling him.
That's his husband.
But he makes a comment I guess maybe it's Rob that's talking about him, but they're talking about how great of a football star he is. So I don't know, maybe he loses his scholarship for some reason.
Let's say a private or a Catholic or a Christian university or something like that. That would definitely make him lose his scholarship.
Yeah.
And they like to give full rides to their their stars if they're willing to come to their school. So
yeah.
But I think too that the way all of them look is an indication of what they've gone. That's what he looks like. He's got that scruff on his face, and he actually looks a little greasy, a little dirty, and he can't even really look up. He just looks completely and fully defeated. So I feel like it's got to be more than lose. I think the accident is probably more accurate. I think that there's probably a loss of some sort of functionality to derail him the way he's been derailed. Because even if he was a good enough football player, I agree, he would have probably lost his scholarship at that time to a religious university. But I think that if he was that good of a football player and had Rod standing behind him, which I believe that Rod wouldn't have had a problem with that, just because I love him and I think he's an amazing guy. So I think that it's likely that any other university would have picked him up.
Right.
So I think it had to be something that physically disabled him in some mentally disabled him in some way.
Maybe. And we know football is life in Texas, right, Amanda? It's where you live.
All right, so do we have any other cruel summer topics that we feel we haven't touched? We're going to summarize here in a minute.
Y'all know I've drank too much wine to focus now, so you're just going to have to.
That's how we like you.
This conversation has lasted a long time. I've
tipsy and unfocused. Here. All right, so to sum up, we think that Joy is involved in some way, nefariously, in something. Most likely, Kate's disappearance. We think she's involved in a little bit. Yes, can we agree on that?
Definitely.
I agree.
Can we agree that we don't think Martin is kidnapping Kate against her will or against his will? We don't think he's doing it on his own.
Agreed.
I don't know. I'm indifferent on
You're
that.
on the fence?
Yeah.
I think he was too afraid. And what about, so Annabelle is who we're divided on. I think that's Joy.
I think Annabelle is not like a physical new person. She's either someone that Kate has made up, or she is who she's, or I mean, in some way she's created this Annabelle character in her mind, is what I think.
I think she's Joy. Amanda, who do you think Annabelle is?
I think it's Martin's.
That
could be too. That's real Norman Bates-ish, but you know.
Yeah, that's what I
think that he's transgender and that's his by choice alter ego, or do you think he's got multiple personalities and he's
I don't know. My husband thinks he's gay, so it's possible that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, he definitely doesn't feel the vibe of them. I don't know.
And Melanie, who do you think Annabelle is?
Oh, Joy.
Joy. Okay, so Melanie and I are on the same track here. We think it's Joy.
Well, I think it could be Joy too, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like if Kate is imagining it as a new person, so I don't know. I don't think I don't think Annabelle's a brand new character, I guess is where I'm going with that. I don't think so either. I think
yeah, that is the name that her mother gave her in her drugged up state to ensure that she had no connection to it.
I could see that too.
And do we agree with how we think that they got the necklace? I think that she got the necklace by Mallory leaving it there as a sign to say, hey.
I think she went and stole it. As soon as she saw her kissing Jamie, she went to get proof to try to like pin it on her.
I always thought she just ran straight to the cops and she already had it.
I don't know.
Because how did she get in the house at that time of night? Because it wasn't the same night. She was wearing the same clothes.
That's true. I don't know.
I think she went to Claire's.
She might have. She might have.
I think Mallory
totally came from Claire's. I'm sorry.
I mean, she told her outside of the gym. She goes, "Oh, like your necklace," and she said, "Thanks,
there is that possibility.
All together, she knows she got it from the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there is a possibility that Jamie went and bought her that necklace.
Yes, I was getting ready to say that's another theory because Jamie says, "I've got a surprise for you," but we never find out what that surprise was. Maybe he bought her a necklace too, and it was obviously probably too cheap for her to wear anywhere. So maybe she had it stashed somewhere.
But I do
before
think
she went missing.
Liked that necklace.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. Okay. Like I think that was a genuine thing on her when she.
But Joy would have, But Joy would have never allowed her.
Yeah.
So she probably would have put it up somewhere.
That makes more sense if he bought it for her before because she was admiring the necklace, and that's not her style.
When he comes out, when she's talking to Jeanette, he makes the comment like, "I've got you a surprise," but we don't know what that is. So maybe he went in and bought one at the same time. I mean, I don't know.
And Mallory would have seen him buy it because it was around the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
So, Jeanette, are you the only one who's like, yeah, Mallory's awesome? Or do you think she's sketchy?
Awesome. But I hate her a whole lot less after episode 2. We'll go with that. I think she's fine.
I'm on the same page as Jeanette.
She amuses me.
Yeah.
I too, but I think she's got a bad side.
I do not think she's a good friend. I don't think she's a person you should be friends with at this point.
I think she's a broken girl too.
I think she's very broken, and I think she's very traumatized. And I think, like I said earlier, I think in chat that I think there's an aspect to the show that is about the trauma that women do to their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a little bit, not even. And there's different to varying degrees, of the trauma. Even though I don't dislike Cindy that much, I think. I mean, I don't think she's a bad mom. I think she's a misguided mother, or not misguided. I think it's hard. Teenagers are very hard, and
kids are hard in general. So
kids are hard in general, and you don't know how to say it. And when she was saying stuff like, she was actually very upbeat and positive about it. She didn't tell her to straighten her hair. She just said, soon your braces will be off, and you might want to start thinking about contacts,
Right.
So I mean, if you think about it on that level, that's not that terrible to say.
No, I don't think she was. I mean,
and there's times where I will tell my daughter, maybe you should grow out your hair, a little bit with the bangs or whatever. And then I have to stop myself because I'm like, okay, she might take that the wrong way, but it's like, I don't think there's anything. I think she's just wanting to see her daughter develop into a young woman that she knows she can be. And also, I mean, sitting there, there is an aspect of her that may not think that Mallory's the best friend that she should have. And
right.
Not.
Well, and I think she sees
that, So
I think she sees too that Jeanette wants to be popular, wants to be part of this crowd. So I think she wants it for her, I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's all that Cindy knows.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Greg told his wife about the conversation that he had with Jeanette. Maybe even it came up, hey, Jeanette and I talked about, at her 93 birthday, where he said, do you really want to be pretty and popular?
Mm-hmm.
Well, make a wish,
Yeah.
I like Cindy. I don't think she's a nefarious character at all. I think that they're probably the most innocent family in that town.
Yeah.
But I think she's vapid.
Yeah.
Just going off of her when she's talking with Joy and her desperation to get it. And that's where I'm pulling that from. But when she's talking to Jeanette, I don't think I think that she's just trying to coach her in how she thinks. There is one thing we forgot to address.
The comment about it being cheap, the necklace being cheap was really cool.
I hated that part. Yeah.
Especially like 15-year-olds at the night. $7 was not that cheap.
It's not cheap, yeah.
It's not cheap now.
I know, right? I mean,
I don't buy anything unless it's $2 or under. But the one thing we didn't mention is, I'm sorry, there is no boy going up into my teenage daughter's bedroom without me present. There is not a chance on this green earth that has ever happened. I have 3 daughters, not happening. No.
Not even about the bed. My husband was so upset. My oldest is very much a daddy's girl. And I mean, he was like, there's no way that I'm letting you take my tradition from me. He was like, I'm going up there to see my doodle bug. I mean, he was like really upset at like this whole
Michael
situation.
And he was also upset that the fact that he's like, what is up with these shows where he's like, is this normal that people just let their guys go up to their teenage daughter's
I mean, the door was
shut. There was no purple in my kid's bedroom. Nuh-uh.
I mean, it's one thing to go up there, but you shut the door. We're not going to shut the door.
No.
You can go up there. I'm going to stand outside the door while you do this.
Oh, you're much nicer than I am. I would be inside that room.
I mean, I'm going to stand outside in the hallway where I can hear everything. But I mean, no.
There is no purple allowed up there. That's just not a thing.
No, you could sit on my couch is what I feel.
Yes. Wait for her to come down, not while she's in a tank top without a bra on in her bed and you're going to wake her up.
Right.
No.
No. Yeah. I think it was actually pretty, it rubbed me the wrong way that he asked that. I understand he's a teenage boy, but it seemed kind of rude,
Definitely. I mean, this is something Dad's been doing for 15 years.
Right.
I mean, you just stole it from him.
You don't push into a dad's.
Well, my husband would not have allowed it. He would have told him, there's no way in hell you're going up there. We're going to do this.
Right?
You can come in after I've done my thing, but I'm going to go first and I'm going to wake her up. Yeah.
I think that Greg and Cindy wanted her to be popular so bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think they didn't stand in the way.
Yeah. I don't know if Greg wanted to, but maybe he wanted to because she wanted it. So,
because even when they're talking at the 4th of July and he's talking about the hitting in the face, and she said, "Did you tell Mom?" He's like, "No, of course I didn't tell Mom."
I think he was too easy on the kid for punching his daughter in the face.
Yes.
Right.
My husband would have knocked him out.
I can't even tell you how my husband would react if someone punched one of my daughters in the face.
My husband would have gotten arrested.
I would feel sorry for that kid, to be honest with you.
My
husband would probably get arrested because there's no way he would allow that to.
Nope.
No.
Well, my husband said the same thing, but the only reason why I could think that he was so easy on it was just because the attention was already on the family.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. And what, yeah. But he seems like a really even-tempered guy.
Maybe
even so, I mean, there's something that happens when your daughter gets punched in the face by a dude.
Right.
I mean, because he didn't even, it was like a full on, he hit her hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think that the only thing that I can justify his reaction by is he felt that Jeanette was already under enough scrutiny by the police and that she was already being attacked enough that he felt if he went after this boy, that would just add on more to Jeanette's plate and it would damage her more. That's the only way I can justify it.
And kudos to him for being able to like resist. Like,
not kudos for me. No, you should have hit that guy.
There's no way. I mean, I would have let
Derek was more mad than her dad was.
Yes. I would have let Derek just take care of it, I think. See,
now, when I was in grade school, there was this boy who called me the C word. I was in grade school. I was in junior high. And I was so upset. And it was at a basketball game. My parents are divorced, and my brother had moved in with us for his 8th grade year, my 7th grade year. And so it was his first year at the school, but it was a junior high basketball meet. And he called me this name, and I was crying. And my brother was like, what happened? And my friends, I was like, don't tell him. My friends told him. And then my parents came to pick us up. And my brother's like, do you know what this boy said to her? My parents were like, hey, go handle it. And my parents literally walked down the hall, looked at posters like this while my brother was behind him with the kid up at a locker, strangling him, threatening him, like cussing at him. And my parents like, yeah, but I'm like, Mom, look it. No, we're not gonna. No, we don't see anything. We're just gonna keep going.
He deserved it. Yeah.
That's what Greg should have done. Yes. Greg didn't have to get in trouble. Derek, they were just gonna slap on the wrist.
Right.
It's an adult hitting a teenager.
I mean, maybe it goes back to how much scrutiny the family was already under that he just couldn't let there be any more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Greg still loved his girl at that point.
Absolutely. And I think he still does, even so.
There is something there, though, that happened to sour that relationship.
Something has happened, and I don't know what it is. I mean, he's just so,
he's not exactly Susie Sunshine anymore.
No,
I think there's a reason why, though.
Yeah.
And it seems to stem from Jeanette. Derek is the only mentally sane person in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So I think we're gonna see. I don't have any theories on what happened there, but I think that we're gonna see that hopefully by the end of the season. I don't know.
But we could all agree we stand with Derek. I mean, apparently he's everybody.
And Ashley.
Yes.
Derek and Ashley are gonna solve this whole thing. They're the only decent, wholly 100% decent people in that town, other than maybe Ben and Vince.
Maybe Vince. Yeah, Vince can be.
Yeah, maybe Vince.
And Ben's nice.
Vince and Ben. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ashley and Derek
can work together. It could be a trio. They just need to meet.
Ashley and Derek are the heroes. Vince and Ben are just nice.
I think so.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna figure this out.
They're just cute with cannon fodder.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any other theories that we need to summarize before we check out?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, I think we're good.
That was only an hour and a half.
You didn't do too bad. Then.
Yeah. We covered 4 episodes. We went in circles a lot and went all over the place, and we summarized it nicely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you guys have anything you want to say to the people who are watching and are going to comment on this?
I know. It's a little late for me to think about. Maureen, you're going to delete us on this one.
All right.
You've got a clear head.
Yeah, I had lemon tart tea. My friend owns a tea shop and she makes this amazing tea. So I had dessert for tea. All right. Thank you guys for watching. And it will probably always be this all over the place every time we talk about Cruel Summer, because there's a lot of information. There's a lot of questions. There's usually more questions than answers. And I have to tell you, from episode 1 to episode 2, I had a theory. By the end of episode 2, it was different. By the end of episode 3, it was a different one. By the end of episode 4, I have another theory. So it is going to be this way every time we talk about it, because the show is that good. So stay tuned in the comments of this or on our Facebook page when we post this. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if you agree, if you disagree, if there's something we didn't hit on, or if you think we're complete insane people and have gotten every single thing wrong. We want to hear that from you. We want to know what you think. And if you have not subscribed to any of our podcast sites, we would like you to subscribe there and let your friends know, because this show is really interesting. And I think the show is going to have some staying power. And we would really like to keep talking to you about this. So if you have a podcast platform that allows you to rate us, please rate us. If you have a podcast platform that allows you to subscribe, do that. And keep in touch with us, and we'll keep you updated. That's what we have for tonight. So I'm going to say bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.